Good evening, good evening, good evening. You are locked into another episode of the Red Sea podcast. You've got your host with the most, Tiago's father, and today I'm joined by two very, very, very special guests. Also, my co-host SS. We are going to be discussing the latest transfer rumours as far as Liverpool football is concerned. We've got Harry Wilson exit. We've got will Divock Origi be a Liverpool player next year or not? But without further ado, let's get into the mix. Yes, boys. How are we? How are we doing? Everyone all right?
All good.
Oh, really good. Looking forward to this, lads.
Good. I know. And I got my guy from Scousers in London. We've been talking back and forth. It's a lot in the making. And I know he's about to bring the heat for the show. But without further ado, let me just look into my co-host. SS, what are you saying? You good?
Yeah, all good, mate. I'm looking forward to it. We've been ramping it up as the season gets closer and closer, so we're going to have more content as the weeks go by. But yeah, starting off tonight with a great show.
Definitely. And guys, we've got some really, really exciting news for you guys at the end of the podcast as well. Something that SS and I have been trying to keep close to our chest for a while, but we can't hold it any longer. So we'll be releasing that at the end of the podcast too. But tell us where you're from. I'll start with Omar as well. So tell us where you're from, guys.
Yeah, I'm a London baby, you know. I'm London born. Scouser blood runs through me though. Yeah, from London. Supported Liverpool since I was young. I'm not going to expose my age, but I'm going to say I've supported Liverpool for a long time. So I you know, before it started to turn to the Premier League, I say that.
Okay.
So you're a true red then. And I've got my guy next to me as well down here. Tell us where you're from, my man.
Sunny Dublin, my friend. Sunny Dublin. That's where I'm from. Ireland, just across this Irish Sea, of course, from Liverpool. I followed Liverpool since the mid-'80s. I'm giving my age away now, but die-hard Liverpool fan and just crazy about Liverpool. You mentioned Liverpool, I'm there, baby.
Good. It's good to have you on. It's good to have you on as well. So, guys, let's get into the mix a little bit. This week's been a bit quiet, but the rumours have been tickling through as well. Before we get into it, shout out some of the guys in the comments. We've got Statman Stubbs in the comments as well. One of our co-hosts on the Red Sea podcast as well. Statman Stubbs, it's good to see you in the comments as well. Delwyn Jones, how you doing, pal? You were in the other night as well. It's good to see you back as well. Big yourself up as well. We've also got Stephen in the cut as well. Evening,
he's the guy that does all our artwork as well. Goes by David. So he's the guy that does all our logo, all our thumbnails. So really appreciate that, David. Thanks for joining us, mate.
There you go, mate. Appreciate it. And we've got another one of our major contributors, Chris Welch. How you doing, pal? You good? It's good to see you in the comments as well. So let's get into the mix. So last week it was all a little bit quiet, weren't it? We were sitting there thinking, and I think the Twitter timeline and the football world's getting a bit nervous about what's going on with Liverpool Football Club at the moment. But I feel our supporters need to just relax a little bit. It's starting to take a little bit of flight. So it started off with a Marco Grujic exit. He's now departed the club. What other exits have we had, SS?
Yeah, so Wilson, obviously the latest one to go. Shaqiri being linked as well. Taiwo Awoniyi's gone out for $6.5 million. So that pot of gold that we seem to be relying on to do any further business seems to be growing by the week, doesn't it? So it'll be interesting to see what the guys think, you know, who might be next to be moved out and what potentially that could mean on in terms of incomings, really.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And we'll probably get into that a little bit further on down the show. So Harry Wilson, the curious tale of Harry Wilson, a player which showed quite a bit of promise in Liverpool. And we always thought that is he going to kick on and make that next step? But in recent years, he's always been linked with a move away. So we had that successful loan spell at Derby County where he was part of that real promotion push. And they just faltered at the very end under Frank Lampard. And then it's kind of gone a bit stale for him. Came back to the club in the summer, had a pre-season with us, then went back out on loan again. But finally, he secured a £12 million move to Fulham. Oh, I'm going to come to you first on this one real quick. So do you think that this move has taken too long to materialise, or have we let a player with immense talents go? What's your thoughts?
I think we hold it. Sometimes we hold on to players for too long. I think we should have let him go ages ago. I think we are looking for the best deal when it comes to these players. My argument with these things is, it's like, you know, the good old days, yeah. Like we're all old, we're all football fans, yeah. You know when you sign a player for like 30 million or something, and then or 20 million, whatever, and then they give you 4 years of service, and you go, okay, I'll take a 10, 15. You know, you kind of value, you know, you're trying to evaluate how much he's worth now because he's been there for a few years and whatnot, and he's played a part. I feel like that's a problem I'm starting to see a recurring thing. We holding so much to what we originally bought players for or what we value. And I think sometimes with players like that who's not really going to get a chance, why are we penny pinching like to kind of get? Yes, you want to get the most from these players, but is $1 million that much of a difference? Because there's times when he could have left a few times and we just wait for the most money. But it's like now, I guess we're in this part where we're looking to get rid of as much players as we can. But I don't think that's going to be a lost art. I don't think if he was Dave's going to play, I feel like he was just going to go on alone. So what's the point? Just let's try and recoup the money and put it elsewhere.
Yeah.
Do you know, I like to agree with you. We have been a club which is guilty of sentiment, but I'll go back at you on that. I mean, Edwards has worked miracles. We think about Ryan Brewster to Sheffield United, £25 million. Cha-ching. We think about Dominic Solanke to Bournemouth, £18 million. Cha-ching. Jordan Ibe to Bournemouth as well. What was that? 20 M's to Bournemouth for Jordan Ibe?
That's still wild. I can't lie. That's still wild. No, 100% agree with what you're saying. 100%.
Yeah.
It's just like it's one of those things. I'm like, all right, like we need to start moving these players on a bit quicker. Yeah, I get it's a masterclass. It's amazing, and I can't. What you said is a counter-attack. What I'm saying, 100% wins. That's an argument done. You've won that one, innit? I can't lie. But you know, the one that's like, at some point you just gotta be like, all right, cool, let's go. Like, just hold Shaqiri, like for example, like say Shaqiri. If someone like, or really say like we want 15 million and someone's offered 12 or 13, like. I'm more in a mix of like, okay, cool. Let's just part ways and let's move on.
So do you feel that we should almost cut our losses? Maybe we're being a little bit, like you said, the word penny pinching. And I put a tweet out last week and saying, is this penny pinching from the club, or essentially on the lines of, are we just trying to maximize value because we're in a position and it's well documented that we have to sell at the moment to buy? And I don't think that's because of lack of funds in the club. I just think it's clever business. We're a very well-run club in terms of our financial affairs. Yeah? We don't spend what we don't have. Days, I'm going to come to you on this, and you're like what I like to call a legacy fan. Yeah, so you will, without using the tag old. Yeah, but you're a legacy.
Very
fan.
old. Very old.
Wiser.
You're wiser. But you've seen a lot more in the club than we've seen in our younger years in supporting the club. How do you feel about the way that FSG go about the transfer window and how they approach their transfer dealings? Because I think this is a crucial thing. A lot of fans have this hang up and say FSG are no good for the club. They're not spending money. They get the jealousy. You see Chelsea today are about to strike a deal for Jules Koundé. United are going out and getting Rafa Varane. Chelsea again today linked with Declan Rice. We've seen Tottenham do business. But we've done our business early doors. We've brought in arguably one of the best young centre-backs in world football. And then you see Arsenal go and throw 50 M's on Ben White. And you're thinking, I think we've got the better end of the deal here. But what's your overall opinion on the way FSG go about their transfer business?
Okay, I'm going to go back about 10 or 11 years. Go back to 2010 when those two lunatics were running the club. We know what I'm talking about. Gillette and Hicks. Let's be real. We were in trouble. We were in trouble. A lot of the younger fans, they can't even go back 10 years, so they don't actually know how good a thing FSG are. I'm not saying they're brilliant. I'm not on the bandwagon. Some bad things about them, but a lot of good things about them. Let's be real here. So move forward. 2019 Champions League, Super Cup, Club World Cup, first Premier League title in 30 years. And look at who we're against, guys. We're against a state-run football club who have more money than sense. I mean, even United have more money. Chelsea have more money. Never mind Man City, one of the best Premier League teams in history. Let's be real here. And we more than matched them. We didn't match them. We hammered them when we won the league last season before last. We won a Champions League. They still haven't won a bloody European Cup. I mean, FSG for me have a policy. We know their transfer policy. They don't just go out splashing money all over the shop. Look at all the big clubs in trouble for money. Barcelona in deep, deep trouble. Madrid are in trouble. Manchester United have huge debt hanging around their neck. Liverpool We've got the stadium being rejuvenated. The whole of Liverpool in around the ground is being rejuvenated. We've got a new all-purpose training facility in Kirby. Melbourne was getting tired and, it needed changing. We've got that now. We've got Klopp at the helm. Now, remember, Klopp is number one. Without Klopp, a lot of this probably wouldn't happen. You have to bring the two together. So when he came in 2015, it was just a marriage made in heaven, FSG and Klopp. It's a marriage. Hopefully, there's at least another 3 years left to 2024. Hopefully, there's a little extension and no early divorces for me. But I can understand the FSG outers giving out. But look at what we're up against, guys. I've seen Liverpool in terrible times. Terrible. You think Liverpool's bad now because they haven't signed anybody? We signed Kanate. As you said, one of the best young centre-halves in world football, potentially Van Dijk level. Let's be real, the next 2 or 3 years. I'm not saying he's there yet, but potentially he's going to be there. Yeah. I've watched him at Leipzig. I've been wanting Liverpool to sign him. We've got him. We've all our players coming back. Half our team were out injured last season. If we get Van Dijk back up and running, Mane's going to have a better season. I mean, Mane was terrible last season. Fabinho, Jota even. Salah's going to be Salah. Let's be real. Salah. Yeah. So, am I happy with FSG? Yes, I am. Am I over the moon with FSG? Not really. I'd like them to spend a bit more cash because I believe there is cash there. The Knight deal as well. Liverpool have moved up levels with FSG, guys. So, let's not use a smoke screen around them and say, they're American owners, they're this, that. Look at the Glazers. I mean, they're a worse level than FSG. So, I'm about a 7 out of 10 for FSG, to be fair. But just be happy with what you got. And I still think we're going to bring 1 or 2 players in, lads. Sorry for the rant.
No. Look, I welcome it. It's normally me. The SS will tell you it's normally me going off on an absolute rant in Transfer Tuesday. But SS, this is a great time to bring you into the chat, my man, because I know your feelings on FSG and the way we spend money. Guys, obviously, me and my co-host, we see eye to eye sometimes. We don't see eye to eye all the time. I think that SS likes to play a little bit of FIFA football every now and again. And he thinks that I don't want to spend any money and I am Mr. My pocket, my hands don't reach my pocket. But there is a fine balance and I always respect what my co-host's opinions are. So, SS, I'm going to give you the floor because I know that you've got some feelings on where we can potentially strengthen. And a player which is kind of setting the headlines is Vlahovic at Fiorentina. Didn't he just bag 7 in a friendly?
He did, yeah. It was a second half performance, 7 goals in one half. It was against a 4th division Italian team, all the same. But we looked at the likes of Erling Haaland over in Austria, and he was banging goals left, right, and centre. And there were a few teams sniffing about, but a lot of teams were thinking, well, it's the Austrian league. Can he do it again? Dortmund took that risk, if you like. It wasn't cheap deal. They had to beat Leipzig to the signature. Exactly. And look how much reward they've got from that, because even if they have to sell him this summer, next summer, he's been absolute levels, and they're going to be making 6-7 times what they paid for him. So even if it's a short-term risk, if we bring Vlahovic in and he turns into an absolute world superstar, 3-4 years down the line, there's no risk we're going to be making our money back. So that would be someone I would look at, because a lot of people have been saying, Gini Wijnaldum's gone out, including myself. The centre midfield replacement is the one that we need this summer, because you've got Keita, Chamberlain, Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott. They're all good players. Some not quite ready. Some you can't really trust to be available all the time. So I agree with Dave. I think in terms of everything, FSG picked us up off the floor with our face down in the mud, and they've stood us up, and we're miles ahead. Even my time as a Liverpool fan since the mid-90s, we've never been at this level. We've never had a team this good. To write down a Liverpool 11 and it be that level is absolutely outrageous. The late 90s and some of the mid 2000s, 2010s, our team was terrible, absolutely shockingly bad. We do the tier list. I don't know if you guys have seen some, and some of the names that you come across and you're thinking they played 100 games. John Joe Shelvey, Lucas Moura, Joe Allen,
Jimmy Terrari.
Leave Shelvey alone. Leave Shelvey alone.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you.
Put Shelvey on the shelf. Put Shelvey on the shelf.
Leave John Joe alone.
All right, I'll leave him alone. But I think FSG, yes, to a point, a modern, decent owner that you're going to get. But at the same time, I think they've been very fortunate to come across Jurgen Klopp at that time because, 2010, 10 years ago that Dave mentions, FSG came in. We've had Dalglish, we've had Rodgers, we've been in and around. We've had one good season and
Rodgers was dark times. That still
it was.
Well,
we had that one season, didn't we, with Suarez, which was basically without him, it was nothing. But as soon as Klopp came in, there was a plan, there was an identity. There was progression. Let's get top 4. Let's get Europa League final. Let's get to the League Cup final. Let's qualify for the Champions League. Let's win the Champions League. Let's win the Premier League. So, as though I understand and I agree with parts of FSG, I'm also slightly worried that when Klopp does hang up his boots, his managerial boots, if that, where do Liverpool go from there? Do FSG bring in someone as good and we carry on? Or do we go back a step and start to think, well, actually, sell to buy is fine if you spend the money the right way and wisely. Klopp's only really had Naby Keita that's cost any kind of money that's not really worked up to this point. Other than that, it's been low prices, and when he has spent big, it's been Alisson, it's been Van Dijk, it's been Fabinho, Salah, Mane, Wijnaldum. So I'm kind of still jury's out. I was very angry with the Super League stuff, but when all things come to settle and pass, like Dave said, if we sign a couple of players, a midfielder and a striker before the end of the window, I'll be amazed. I'll be over the moon. I'll be so happy with that. Absolutely brilliant. As long as they're players that can come into that team and the 11 doesn't, the level doesn't fall off too much. You can, like a Jota for Mane is not the end of the world. Over a season, he's probably not at Mane's levels, both at their best, but Jota can come in for a game and the drop off isn't too bad. So I think we're in for an interesting last month of the window. I think if we get a couple in, everybody will be very happy. If we don't, could we see a few cracks appearing and potentially 1 or 2 injuries away again from something similar to last year?
Yeah. Do you know what, SS? You made some great points in there as well. You really, really do. And before I touch a little bit on those points, I want to flip to a couple of guys in the comments as well. Samantha Shetty as well. Thank you for locking in. Welcome to the group, Samantha. It's good to see you here as well. Also, Samarth Shetty. Excuse me. Thanks for locking in as well. We've got a few other regular faces in there as well. What Edwards has done is absolutely madness. Shout out to you as well in the comments too. Kev in the comments too. I have a feeling Origi will be a problem if he's on 80k per week. I can't see anyone matching that, and we really need him gone. We're going to touch on that a little bit later on down the line, Kev, as well. Last week's deals, no matter our current problem, we currently have no room to sign a non-homegrown players until at least one leaves this season. Do you know what? I agree with you as well. Chris, jumping in the comments as well, mate. It's a 2.5 billion fairy tale at Manchester City. Don't forget. You make some good points there as well.
They're playing with a whole different kitty, man. They're just having fun.
But do you know what? For all of that spending, they've not won the big one. They won the Champions League.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah, and the Premier League, don't get me wrong, winning the Premier League is a fantastic accomplishment. And I think in the year when we finished 1 point behind them, they won the Premier and we won the Champions League, we can all sit here as Liverpool fans and said, would we have done a swap with Manchester City at that point? If you could swap the trophies,
nope.
We would have done a swap. I would have swapped. I would have swapped one. I would have swapped one Champions League.
No fan would have said no. No fan would have said
no. I wouldn't have done. I wouldn't.
What?
No way. You don't swap a Champions League for a Premier League. No way.
Listen,
it's all about 6.
For how long we've waited? I
knew
it was coming eventually. I would not swap one.
We're allowed to trade off one. Yeah, we got 6. You know when you make it to 5, you keep one in your trophy cabinet, and we're the only team in the UK to have 5. Yeah, to then go and get 6 is fantastic. And I would have traded that 6 to have what? Double back-to-back Premier League. Can you imagine? You mad?
Yeah. I was with there's no way I'm giving that away.
Guys, just take a deep breath for 1 second and think the last 3 years, the fairy tale, the roller coaster we've been on. Champions League 2018 got beaten by Madrid. I won't mention Karius. 3-1. We were in that game with a half an hour to go. It was 1-1, Mane. That could have went either way. Salah, injury. Okay. The next year, we didn't let our heads drop, boys. We didn't let our heads drop. We could have easily let our heads drop and say, that's it. Not going to get a chance for Champions League final for a long time. The following year, what do?
We go again.
Record amount of bloody points. Like how we didn't win the league that year. 99% of the time we're going to win the league against, as I said, the Oil Barons by 1 point, and then win number 6. Then the following year, go again, Super Cup in the cabinet, World Club Cup for the first time in our history, and then win the Premier League after 30 years. It's been a bloody roller coaster, but I don't want it to end.
I'm with KT.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm with KT. Champions League is my trophy. That's the ultimate prize.
KT,
You know what?
thank you for jumping in the comments,
man.
Go on, eh?
It's just the weight. It's just the weight. Like I would have at the time saying it now, like the way Dave said it, I agree with him. The roller coaster. Like I love the fact I was part of it. And I strapped myself in. Yeah, I mean, we're Liverpool fans. It's how it goes, and we never done it easy. It's always done dramatically and whatnot. But at that time, in that moment, I would have taken the Premier League hands down. I would.
Yeah, 100. Listen, I'll give you this one, right? Last day of the season, Manchester City are against Brighton. Brighton scored the first goal. Yeah. I am in my hallway in tears because I'm thinking, lads, it's happening. It's happening at that point. And then obviously Manchester City go on and destroy Brighton. We kept our part. We kept our part of the bargain. We pushed Manchester City all the way, and we lost to one team that year, the eventual champion. So we could walk out with our heads held high from that season. Yeah. But I don't want to dwell too much on that. Let's kick on. So I think, and I put a tweet out recently saying, are Liverpool succession planning? Yeah, because I think we are. With some of the moves that we're making and some of the players we've been linked in, I think Klopp is looking to build Liverpool 2.0. And what he doesn't want to do, because of his love for the club, is leave us in the lurch when he decides to move on. Because it's going to come, he will move on. Whether that's 2024, whether that's 2026 with an extension, who knows? But at some point, Jurgen Klopp is going to walk through the gates at Anfield and no longer be Liverpool manager any longer. So I feel he's trying to proposition us in a place where we are ready to go again. We're ready to make that next step. So if you look at the signing of Konate, is he potentially the Van Dijk heir apparent? Is he the one that when Van Dijk starts to wane a little bit, and the peak of his powers start to subside? Obviously, the injury he's had coming back from that is a big, big, big injury. And I feel with having Konate there, it allows Van Dijk and Gomez also. Let's not forget Gomez. Let's give Gomez his flowers because he's also a top centre back. It allows those two just to ease back in. Yeah. It allows them to come back in with no pressure because we've got a world-class centre back. You know, and I've been referring to him as our Parisian prince because we've got a world-class centre back in Ibrahima Konate. So, SS, I'm going to start with you on this one as well. Sure. There's talk of Van Dijk getting 20 minutes against Hertha Berlin. They're going to try and ease him back in. But I liken it to a Rolls Royce. If a Rolls Royce isn't ticking right, you don't rag it. Yeah. You don't rag it. You go and get it serviced. Yeah. And I feel that we're trying to give him a service. Let's give him a little outing. Make sure that he's right. Okay, no problem. We'll increase the minutes slightly. We've got a lot of friendly games coming up. We've got Hertha Berlin. We've then got Atletico Bilbao as well, who we're playing. Just to get you guys in the comments as well, myself and SS will be at the Atletico Bilbao friendly. So if you are at Anfield, please come up, find us, say hello, introduce yourself first. I don't want anybody jumping on me. Yeah.
Autograph, please.
Please, guys, keep your distance.
Form an orderly queue. No, but all banter aside, we will be at the Atletico Bilbao friendly, and we also aim to be giving our match reactions live from Anfield for our match reaction show on the LFC Day Trippers directly outside Anfield. So if you are there or you haven't purchased a ticket yet, there are tickets still available. Jump on with your membership card online, buy a ticket, meet us there, get involved in the match reactions. It'll be great to meet every single one of you. But SS, easing Van Dijk back in and how Konate fits into that plan. Talk to me.
Yeah, I agree. So we saw Konate and Matip, didn't we, start the last friendly against Mainz, and albeit it's 45 minutes against the team that was 6 points off getting relegated in the Bundesliga last season. All the minutes help. We saw last season, I think that was 21 different combinations of centre-backs, which how we finished third with that, I genuinely don't know. If you said if you said that a team had 21 different centre backs partnerships, you would think that they would have gone down. You would have thought that would have been what got them relegated. You know, you say a team that has 3 managers are going to get relegated. Well, a team that has 21 partnerships, how on earth? Everybody has to start from the back with a solid foundation. How on earth do you build from that? And Liverpool played without legs last season, didn't they? There was just nothing behind them. You know, every single game it was Kabak and Phillips, and then it was Kabak and Williams, and then one of them got an injury, and it was Henderson and Fabinho. So to see any centre backs of that level in any combination, I'm over the moon. Whether that's Matip and Konate, Gomez, I really don't mind. So I've seen an empty centre back partnership. So any of them 4 are going to be fantastic. So when you mentioned Van Dijk, he got injured in September against Everton. ACL takes around a year. We saw that with Oxlade-Chamberlain when he got injured in the Roma game in his first season at Liverpool. He then came back pretty much a year later, at the very, very end of that next season. You know, he missed the entire season. So I'm in no rush whatsoever to get Van Dijk back in. You know, we've got a decent start in the league. There's not any major difficult fixtures in a row coming up. Chelsea. Yeah, I think that's the main one. So if we can get Van Dijk in for that one, and then we take him out, and then we put him in and we take him out, for me, until we get to October, I think Van Dijk will be used a bit like that. And once we're into October, November, I would expect it to then become Van Dijk and one other. Once we get into the Christmas period where it's just games every 3 days, you know, historically, Van Dijk would just play. It would just be Van Dijk every time. Doesn't matter if it's Champions League or Premier League, he's there with someone else. And the someone else is the rotation. So I think I agree. Another year older, back from an injury, I think we'll see him used a little bit less. I don't think he'll play 38 Premier League games this season, which is what he has been doing. I think in and around, you know, the 30 mark, 25 to 30 mark. And we use him when we desperately need him. So Champions League semi-final, quarterfinals, around April, May, we don't want to have burnt him out by then. We need him for the business end of the season. So, you know, if we can chuck a Gomez and a Matip out, or a Matip and a Konate out, that's good enough. That's good enough to stop the attack of probably 16, 15 of the Premier League teams out there. So realistically, yeah, I don't want to rush him back. As much as we'd all love to see Virgil van Dijk walking out every week, 90 minutes, it's not always going to be possible. So yeah, I wouldn't want to, like you say, rag it like a fancy car. But yeah, any combination, I'll be more than happy with. But yeah, I don't think we need to put any extra pressure on him. Klopp knows where he is. Van Dijk knows where he is. The pictures and the videos from training are really encouraging. Seeing him train with Gomez, slowly getting into the team training, slowly getting minutes in pre-season, and if he can play, you know, even 60 minutes, 70 minutes against Bilbao, Osasuna. I think there's another one that's been announced against Bologna as well. It's all minutes in the bank, all in the tank, and it's such a major injury to come back from that there is no rush for someone that good, because I'd rather have Van Dijk for 30 games a season for another 4 years than to give him 38 for the next 2, and he's really struggling to carry on. But yeah, no rush whatsoever. He's back when he's back, and it's better to have him, you know, in some part than not at all, like last season.
Totally. And look, just sticking with the centre-back themes as well, because we're going to run with that currently. I'll come to you. Ibrahim Konate, is he one of the up-and-coming world's best centre-backs? Is he that level? Or are Liverpool going to go again? Because we could have signed Ozan Kabak for as little as 8 million. They were trying to literally gift wrap him and put him in our suitcases, to be honest. But Liverpool were just like, do you know what? He's not for us. And I've been saying this for a long time, because there was all this panic around signing a centre-back in January. And don't get me wrong, SS and I on our shows, we were crying out for a centre-back in January. But Liverpool do not deviate from their transfer targets. They don't deviate. They never have done. We have a very strict, robust transfer policy. Yeah. So was this a deal that was already done, or have we just found an opportune moment to sign a top draw centre back?
No, I think Konate was somebody who was always looking at. I think from some of the reports I was reading, we was interested in him for some time. I think one of the issues we saw is that he does get injured quite a lot, and that was one of the worrying things. I know the other centre back, Upamecano, he was another one we had on the list, but we knew he wanted to stay in Germany. I feel like it shows credit to our like the issue we had last season was we kept chopping and changing centre backs, and the sheer fact that we was all waiting for Van Dijk to come back, and we've signed, like, we can ease Van Dijk back in, who's the best centre back in the world, shows real intent, and that we made such a good signing with him. I think that shows itself, because if you think about it, anybody would be like, no, Van Dijk has to get back ASAP. But we've got a centre back who, and I don't know if you guys agree with me or not, but the best part of pre-season for me has been our defence. I think defending, I've seen a lot of, like, between him and Matip, I've seen a lot of good things between them, to his recovery, how big he is. I mean, we also that image when he got put to the floor by Origi, right? And that's when I was like, wait, is this the right guy we signed? You know what I'm saying? But I think no, he is the real deal. He's built big. He's comfortable on the ball. He can squeeze good with his feet. His recovery, his speed. You know, these are the things that he's got everything about him. His mentor, and he's still young, so he can learn. And who better to learn under than Klopp, the person who will give you 1,000,001 hugs and shout you at the same time. He's an amazing build. Like, I've loved him as a centre back. He's a centre back. Funny enough, that with the guys at Scousers London, I would say we need to. He's somebody, and he's young. And again, it just shows, like, I agree with SS. Like, he took the words out of my mouth. Really, what I was going to say is that Van Dijk is an amazing player. Bold. He's the best centre back. There's no centre back better than him. But we signed somebody, and you said as well, TF. You were saying, is it somebody that we signed for the future? Yeah, he is planning for Liverpool 2.0, because he's going to be Van Dijk's replacement. He'll learn what he needs to learn of Van Dijk. You know, you had it with people like Jamie Carragher's. People learn of these type of people who just, Van Dijk, it's not just his ability and how he's a great defender. It's his mind. He's already, like, tackled you before you run at him. He just knows where to be. Anyone that played beside him, inexperienced or not, automatically looks better. And I think him and Konate together are just going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. And if we can ease him in, it's crazy.
Okay, so hold on. Just before I move on to you, David, like, is this okay? Let's have it as it is. Yeah, is the centre back pairing for next season Van Dijk and Konate? Is that what it is?
See, the thing is, I was saying that, yeah, but I don't want to disrespect. Oh, sorry, was that to me or to Dave?
Yeah. I want because you was on it. I want you to call it out, because I know the backlash is going to be on your Twitter timeline. So I want you to call it out.
No. So I you're wrong. Matip has played well, but he's obviously always injured in it twice or three times a season. He's always out, yeah. Gomez, I love Gomez, yeah. But the one thing that kind of, like, stood out to me was I heard Neco Williams talking, and he was saying, like, I need to battle Joe. I need to battle Trent for right back. So when he said that, I was thinking, Joe, is he going to try and push Gomez back to the right back role, like try and play a little bit there? I don't know. And that's kind of something that stuck with me since. I think the future pairing will be them too. But people need to put respect on Gomez's name. He's definitely a top quality. And I think even if you think about England, how England played, he starts for England, his country as well. He's a top centre back. And let's not forget that. But
I agree.
We can rotate. That's something SS was talking about. We never had the opportunity to. It was always Van Dijk played every game. We actually have a defense that options. We can just rotate. We can put people in, and it's like it doesn't affect our team, and we can rest for the big games. The small games we can. And that's funny as well. Even if you think about it, how we'd have to play like the youth players for like a cup game, or the games that me not taking as serious. They can still get their game times in that as well. It's like and saying that for defenders, I think it's crazy, because usually people want that at the front of your attack. They want you able to rotate the attack. They're happy with the same back four to play every game. Maybe one centre back that can play right back, or one that's okay. We have top quality. Still Matip is a top quality centre back. He's top quality. When he plays, he will score a header if he's in the box. He's winning all his headers. He's tackling you. He's got them Bambi legs. I'm telling you, he's a top. The only problem is he just can't stay fit. We've got really good top. We've got 3 top centre backs, and Nat Phillips proved last season that if he has to step up, he will do it. So let's go. That's 4. Not many people can say that.
Okay. So Dave, I'm gonna flip to you. So do we have the best defensive sort of partnership in the league? Do we have the best partnership in the league? Because we've seen United go and make a statement. Harry Maguire, 80 million. Rafa Varane, I'm going to say it. I'm a Liverpool fan, but I like Rafa Varane. For £40 million, for 40 M's, that is daylight robbery. Yeah? A player who has won multiple Champions Leagues. Yeah? Multiple La Liga titles. Spanish Cup, like that
World
is
Cup.
a World Cup winner. That is daylight robbery. £40 million for that pedigree, and what? He's only 26.
I think he's 29.
Is he 29?
Yes, I think.
Okay,
late 20s.
Even-
So. Listen,
even late 20s, that's daylight robbery. So, but
28. He's 28. You're in the middle.
28.
Even with 1 year left on his contract, that's still daylight robbery.
Yeah.
I
That's
agree.
daylight robbery.
Yeah.
So even with City going last year and finding a gem, Ruben Diaz is a gem. They found a gem. Yeah. They found that's a real find, and that's really shrewd business from Manchester City. So it has to be praised, because we've always associated Manchester City with going out and just spending whatever it takes. Yeah. But that was a real find. Chelsea today being linked with Jules Koundé. Like, this seems like a defensive arms race, but are Liverpool ahead in that respect? Are we ahead? Like, this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
It's a defensive arms race.
Well, I'll tell you what it is, right? A few years, go back maybe even 10, 15 years, a centre-half wasn't even thought about. They weren't, but they were on the team. They were on the team. They weren't the superstars, really. You know what I mean? Even Hippier, Carragher, they were on the team. They nearly played every game, but they weren't the guys in the interviews. Let's be real, guys. They weren't the guys. They weren't the fellas on the back of your jersey. They weren't. It was the strikers. It was even sometimes the goalkeeper, but it was rarely the centre-half. But if you've seen the last 2 or 3 seasons, look at City when they lost Laporte, how they imploded. One player controlling the whole back, giving the goalkeeper confidence. That's what Van Dijk does for us. Like, people say, it's only one player. What are you talking about? Look, what are you talking about? That's what I'm talking about. It's like a chess piece. It's like losing the queen or the king on a chessboard. It's not one of the rooks. You know what I'm saying? 10 years ago, it might have been a rook, but it's a top piece on a chessboard, and we lost. And everything he gives you on the pitch, the shouting, the roaring, as you just said earlier on, his psychological thing, I've seen this, he's a giant, a psychological thing of him in the tunnel or on the pitch, coming up for a header or a corner. Even that would have been enough to put a lot of players off. And now you have 2 of them. Your man Kanat, I think, is even bigger than Van Dijk. So Kanat and VVD, you've heard it here first, the wall. The 2 of those boys, I mean, the wall. Yeah, but I mean, I think those 2 boys, obviously future-wise, potentially, I mean, I think he has everything in the locker. He just has to do it on the pitch. I mean, I can't just stand here and say he's got to be Van Dijk Mark II. He has to do it on the pitch. I'm sure he will do it on the pitch. I hope he does it on the pitch. But as you said about Van Dijk, he needs to be eased back in. He has a terrible injury. He was assaulted, let's be real, by Pickford. That wasn't an injury, that was an assault. So, so that's a different thing. He wouldn't have been injured up to then. That was actually an injury, car crash. Yeah. And then Gomez, but Gomez is always injured. So even before this injury, you can't rely on Gomez to get even 20 games a season. Matip as well. When Matip is with those long legs, I mean, when he's fit, I mean, he's up there. He's a top centre-half, but he's never fully fit. So automatically you're coming down. You're coming down. Kanate, he had a few injury problems. I don't think they're as bad as people make out. He's young. Yeah. He's still growing, believe it or not, which I can't believe. But anyway, so you have to look at it that way. And we know what happened last year with centre-halves. It almost cost us. It probably should have cost us a Champions League spot, only for Big Nat to step up and young Reece Williams. To be fair, the 2 of them, without those 2 boys, letting Fabinho and Hendo go back into the midfield, we wouldn't have got top 4. Let's be real. And I think Nat, everybody's saying Nat's going to leave, but actually, I have a little twist. I would keep Nat Phillips at the club until at least January, for the very fact we don't know what way these boys are going to come back. Mm-hmm. We don't want to let Nat Phillips go for 15 million to West Ham or Brighton, and then in October, 1 or 2 of our boys are injured again, and we're like this. What the hell do we do? And Reece Williams goes out on loan, which I think he will. Keep Nat Phillips. Keep him there till January. Say, listen, you're going to be there. We know you can do it. We can call on you. We can rely on you. But if you want to go in January, it'll give us time to bring someone else in as well. We'll let you go. For me, I'd keep Nash, Reece Williams out on loan, and ease the likes of Gomez and Van Dijk in.
Dave, you make a very, very good point, and that leads us nicely onto the curious case of Ben Davies.
Hold on, he's under the table. Ben,
there he is.
But this is the thing. He's almost the forgotten man. So you've listed.
I forgot about him.
Canate, Phillips, Matip. Yeah, you've even listed Reece Williams.
Yeah.
You've not even touched on Ben Davies. Is this where he's at with Liverpool Football Club? Is this where he's at? Because SS will tell you my views on the Ben Davies thing is a little bit different. I honestly feel he has a future at Liverpool Football Club. Yeah. The only reason being, and I'll give a bit of substance behind why I think that. One of the best Championship defenders. Yeah, I spoke to, after we signed him, I spoke to a season ticket holder at Preston North End. And I said to me, Ben Davies, talk to me. And he said, he is the real deal. He is the real deal. Having watched him up close for however many years I've watched him, he is the real deal. Left-footed centre-back, ball-playing centre-back as well. Left-foot centre-backs are a premium. They are a premium. If you are a left-footed centre-back, you pay top money. Because whereas we're quite fortunate with Van Dijk because with Konate, he's comfortable on either side. But most defenders pick a side. They're either I'm playing on the right or I'm playing on the left. And to play on the left and be left-footed, fantastic. Amazing ability to hit a cross-field pass as well. So he suits the way that we play. He can get us on the break early. I just think that Klopp is biding his time with him. He is what I refer to as a risk-free transfer. Yeah. His wages are probably 50k a week, 60k
40k
a week,
probably
40k a week. That's pittance for Liverpool Football Club. 500,000 on the transfer fee we paid? That's pittance for Liverpool.
Youngin said this same thing, we had Youngin on our show and he was saying, he knows a few guys that play at Preston, plays at Preston. He was saying, exactly what you said, the way he pings the ball, the way he's comfortable, the way he'll take the ball, the way he commands, speaks, and everything. So this is why I was very disappointed, the fact he couldn't get on the pitch to prove what everybody's talked him up for. So I agree with you. I do think it's one of those things where you'll see him feature and he'll be like, okay, he's all right.
I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. SS, and I'll come to you because, again, I know you've got your views. But try and detach yourself for a moment of just that.
It's hard, man. I can't.
Yeah. Could we see him play in cup games? Liverpool have always been told we're guilty of not paying enough respect to League Cup, FA Cup. Could we see someone like Ben Davies come into those games and do something?
I think Obey took a good point. We've got 4 that we can rotate anyway. If we stumble upon a centre-back partnership that works, maybe a Van Dijk and a Matip, say, early doors, and suddenly Gomez and Konate aren't playing every week, well, they're going to need to play somewhere. The Carabao Cup is the first one that comes along. The Champions League then comes along, and then the FA Cup comes along in January. So, although we've got 4 to rotate that are very, very good, you don't necessarily want to rotate just because, you look at Manchester City, they were the best team last season. Ruben Dias was very, very, very rarely not in that team, and it was Laporte and Stones that were rotating. So they had 3 centre-backs, and 2 really were only rotating, which is in an ideal world. If we've got 4 next season, we're not probably going to go Gomez and Matip, and then 4 days later, Konate and Van Dijk. It's very unlikely that we're going to change the whole thing. It's very much going to be 1 in, 1 out, a little run for Gomez, a little run for Matip, a little run for Van Dijk, Konate getting a couple of games. I don't think we're going to chop and change both centre-backs every week. So I look at those cup games, the FA, the Carabao, and even sometimes the Champions League games. If we've got a weak opponent say we get to the 5th and the 6th game in the Champions League, we've already qualified, we've already topped the group. You give people like that a game, and I don't necessarily see Ben Davies getting a look in even in the cup games with that kind of depth. And it's an interesting one because I look at Ben Davies coming in January, and I think we literally had £0 to spend in January, and we were looking around and thinking, we need bodies, we need centre-backs. We've got Kabak in, great. We're going to have to get another one in just in case we get another injury. Say Kabak gets injured on day 1. So we had to go and get anybody we could get, and he had 6 months left on his deal. It was a decent Championship recognised centre-back. That's all he was. He's about to turn 26. He's not a well beater. He's not Liverpool level, but we needed him potentially for 6 months. In that 6 months, he was injured pretty much for the whole thing, bits after bits after bits. So he never really ever got the chance to shine. Obviously, we're now in pre-season. You've got a second go at the whip, and I know it's for personal family reasons, but he's had to leave the pre-season camp. And again, that doesn't help his cause, does it? He's out there to prove his worth. And you mentioned the money situation with Nat Phillips. After the season he's just had, James, you've made this point as well. His value is as high as it's ever going to be right now. So we either cash in now and think, okay, we've got 4. We've got a Ben Davies to kind of stick around if we really, really are desperate. Or do we think, actually, let's move Ben Davies on, £4 or £5 million. I think Celtic were interested. And do we keep Nat Phillips, just like Dave said, until January? And I think Nat Phillips is one of them players that would happily say, do you know what? Yes, everything that Liverpool have done for me, I'll give you 6 months. Not a problem. If in January Nat Phillips hasn't been needed once because the 4 centre backs above him have stayed relatively fit and rotated, we say, Nat, you've been amazing. Honestly, it's been incredible, but we know that you want to go and play football. And by January comes around, Brighton, Burnley, all these kind of teams, Brentford, Norwich, maybe looking around and thinking, crap, we need a centre-back because we're about to get relegated. One of our centre-backs is injured, 6 months out, or we want to change to a back 5 because it's just not working. We can go and fleece them for 10, 15 million in January and everybody gets what they want with zero risk, because
that's it.
As soon as you get rid of Phillips, you're like, okay, I remember when Van Dijk got injured and I was like, okay, we've got to rely on Matip and Gomez to stay fit. Then Gomez goes out, you're like, right, we've got Matip and Fabinho now, and Matip gets injured and you're like, okay, yeah, that's not great. So I agree completely with Dave. It's a 6 month thing, so we learn what those 4 are about. You would hope that they're all over their injuries now, at least 3 of them. I think Matip, like O mentioned, is the one that's not ever going to be playing 38 games again. He's going to be picking up a 3-week injury in January, picking up a 2-week injury in March. He's not going to be ever again a consistent 38 game centre back. So I agree. I think Ben Davies is very unlikely to feature, even if he does stay around. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was moved on, whether that be now, whether that be in Jan. But yeah, for me, I'd keep Nat Phillips if he wants to stay, which I think if Klopp had that word with him, the power of Jurgen, he would, Nat would say, do you know what? Yeah, for everything that's happened, I'll give you that time. If I haven't got an appearance by Jan, that's cool. We'll part ways.
See, you make some really good points there, but I think about it slightly different. And this is where me and my co-host disagree. Yeah. Nat Phillips needs to go now. He has to move now while his stock is high. Yeah. A player that arguably was probably going to move last year if we hadn't have had the injury crisis that we had.
Yeah, that's the Swansea deal fell through, didn't it?
The Swansea deal fell through. He was going to be on his way. Yeah. So I think now all he's done is he's enhanced his chances of a move to a better club. Rather than looking at a championship club, he's now looking at a Premier League club. Yeah. Brighton have just sold Ben White, 50 million. Yeah. They need a centre-back. Arguably, Lewis Dunk is probably the outstanding member of that partnership between Ben White and Dunk. He was the one. He was the leader. He was almost their Van Dijk. Ben, you got to be here. You got to do this. You got to do that. This position, that position. And Ben White found himself actually having to go into the midfield area because he wasn't quite what Brighton needed at that point. A team that wanted to play expansive football, but was a little bit found wanting at the back. So Nat Phillips could go into there and transform that back four. He's a no-nonsense defender. I think that's what Brighton might need at the level that they're at. And also, he's improved on his ball-playing skills. If you look at when he first came into the team, when he touched the ball, it was like he had a rubber band on his foot. It would just ping off everywhere. Whereas now, he's a bit more measured with his touch. Yeah. Even down to him scoring the goal, his work on the outside of the box, there was some nice footwork there that got him into that kind of position. So I think we've seen an improvement in Nat Phillips in the way that he plays. Reece Williams for sure is going to be going out on loan, and I feel he needs a loan to kick on to that next level.
Yeah.
But I see us keeping Ben Davies as the fifth choice centre-back and moving Nat Phillips on to cash in while the stock is high. We then start to play Ben Davies in the cup competitions, in the games that don't really matter, again, to then boost his value and then cash in next year. That would be my personal approach to the situation. If we're looking at the way that FSG and Michael Edwards do their business, great shout from Kev here as well. Dunk, Phillips, Webster, decent back three, totally. Because Dunk can play ball, Webster can play ball. Nat Phillips again is getting better. You saw Webster have to drift out more to the right-hand side of that three last year because Ben White's discipline was atrocious. His defensive discipline isn't great. Whereas with Nat Phillips, you are getting a very measured, disciplined centre-back. And this season has stood us in good stead. And I really feel it would be disrespectful to Nat Phillips to keep him until January and potentially deny him that move. You'd be denying him a move because in Jan, it's a hope and a prayer. You're hoping that Burnley are struggling in relegation. You're hoping Brighton are down in the mud. You're hoping maybe a Norwich who's just come up, one of the promoted teams, are down in the mud. And arguably, they're going to be sitting there thinking, what, 15 million? Can't really afford 15 million right now. Like O said, you know what? We'll give you 10. And then Liverpool go, no, we want 15. And we hold on for a bit too longer. A bit too long. A bit too long.
I got
price
for
dropped.
that, I got slayed for that. I said that on Twitter. I said, we're doing like, I said, I would sell Ben Davis. I would sell Nat Phillips.
Nat Phillips.
Yeah, and everyone's like to me, no, how can you do that? All he's done, I was getting all these messages, all these acts. You're not a real Liverpool fan, you don't understand. I'm like, but
sentimental.
Why are we going to keep somebody who probably was worth like less than 5 million that's now valued at 10 to 15 million, cash in on him, and then if you want to sign Kabak, whatever, or you want to keep whatever you do, what you do in it. But why would we keep him when he's not even going to be third choice? He's going to be fourth, fifth. Like it made no sense. It wasn't good business, and if anything, you're only going to devalue him because who's going to say, well, hang on a minute, he hasn't played a game in a while because you know the likeness of they were like, oh, last season, we lost all these injuries, but that was a freak season, man. I mean, touch wood. I hope this thing never happens again. But it's a freak season, man. Like, come on. How would you hear like 3 centre backs injured and rotating 20 odd? Like, cash in on him. Like, come on. We need to strengthen us. Cash in. He's going to be good.
Sorry, lad. Just a quick one. I'm not going back, and I still think we should keep Phillips till January. I know. I'd love him for a move. He's been brilliant. He's actually deserves a move for the last 6 months. And he's given us, if I want to be sentimental about it, I would say, he deserves the moves. Good luck. But I don't think Klopp trusts Ben Davies if Van Dijk has to be eased back in, if Gomez has to be eased back in, if Kanate, who hasn't kicked the ball in the Premier League yet for us, and Matip, who, as we know, he's injured, he's not going to play every game. It's just not going to happen. Reece Williams is going to go out on loan. So what do? You keep Ben Davies, who hasn't kicked the ball, is still in the basement, by the way. And what do? Or hold on till January? There still will be interest in Phillips in January. Don't doubt about it. As you said, teams will be struggling. That's what I'm going to stick to that one. I'd love him to go. I'd love him to go for 15.
Fantastic point. You make a fantastic point.
Thank you.
Liverpool, you do. And there's another tack to look at it from, and I always say, and SS will back me up on this, we're Liverpool Football Club, yeah? If we want to hold on to a player, in the grand scheme of things, and when you look at it from a business perspective, both sides make sense because £15 million for a player now, or is it £50 million you're losing out because we don't qualify for Champions League, or we finish so low down in the Premier League because we have another injury crisis? Someone in the club is going to be having some spreadsheets out and doing some major maths and thinking, is this a gamble we really want to take? And someone's going to turn around and say to Klopp, like, yo, like this fucked up last time. Like, we don't really want to be doing this.
Depends how tight they want to be, doesn't it? How much they want to risk. We're potentially going into a season with one right back. Gomez can play there. He's not a right back.
There's another one.
Yeah. So,
but I don't think FSG are into the risk game. I just don't see it. I just don't see how they are.
But this is it. We kind of come back around to the original topic where we started, and it leads us nicely onto the last part of this show before we do close. Yeah. Liverpool are in a position where it has been well documented by many media outlets that we have to sell before we buy. Yeah. There are other positions on the park which we need to strengthen, and we've brought a centre back. We've got the little problem of a 38-game player in Gini Wijnaldum missing from our midfield. We've got a 38-game gap in our midfield. You look at Thiago. Thiago, 20 games last. I think he played 25 games last season, or on average plays 25 games a season. You look at who else is in our midfield? Henderson. His availability is waning a little bit as well. Fabinho suffered with injuries. Thiago suffered with injuries as well. You look at Curtis Jones. Curtis Jones needs bedding in. Naby Keita's always asleep on the operating table or in the massage table. You look at Shaqiri, again, another one who's never available. Ox is never available. Me and SS always say availability is the best ability. And we lack that in our midfield area. We lack that availability. Yeah, it's true. That. Availability is the best ability, and we lack it in our midfield area. Last year, when we needed that of any characteristic, any player could have brought to the Liverpool team last year, it would have been availability. SS pointed to it earlier on. We needed bodies. We never had bodies. They were missing. So we've been linked with Sal Miguez. Yeah. We've been linked with Yuri Telemans. We've been linked with Gravenberch. We've been linked with Norhouse. We've been linked with
Basuma.
Basuma. We've been linked with John McGinn. The list of players we've been linked with in the midfield area is vast. Yeah. Do we make a move in the window, bearing in mind, as I said before, I believe that FSG and Liverpool do not deviate from transfer targets. Yeah. So, SS, I'm going to come to you on this one. I know who your top target is. Yeah. And I know who my top target is for the midfield. I know who I want in that midfield. But do we realistically make a move? And to make that move, you look at what we've earned from player sales. Harry Wilson, 12. Yeah. Marco Grujic, 15 M's on a Marco Grujic? 10. Okay, sorry, 10 M's on Marco Grujic. You're looking at 22 mil. Then the kid who's gone out as well, 6.5 mil. Yep. You're looking at 20 million there in player sales so far. You look at Shaqiri's been linked with a £12 million move away, which could take you to 32 million. You then look at Divock Origi, again, who's been linked with a £15 million move away as well. That takes you to £37 million. Nico Williams also been linked with £6 million move away. That takes you to £43 million. Yeah. If you want to go out and buy a Sal Miguez who's been touted at £40 million, getting rid of all those players before you've even got rid of Nat Phillips, yeah, gets you Sal Miguez, which will plug that 38 game gap. But the man I want to see is Yuri Telemans. But I'll let you get into that one. SS.
Yeah, it's a tricky one because I look at it in two ways. And if you're getting rid of players that don't play and have not had any Premier League game time, you're not going to miss them. So the likes of Grujic, Wilson, there's a few out there that are being linked with moves that haven't played. Awaniyi, and you're making decent money, decent profit from them. As soon as you start moving on the likes of Shaqiri, Origi, Nico Williams, okay, yes, they're not really first team players, but you suddenly look at the bench and you'll have 4 academy lads there instead. So when you look at the bench and you see Origi, you see Shaqiri, you see Nico, you think, okay, if we get an injury somewhere, if Trent has to come off, it's not too bad. Suddenly you've got the likes of Conor Randall that's been shouted that he might be coming into the first team and things like that.
Good player.
But is he ready to get an understudy to a Trent? For me, he's not. So you need to be careful. We can't just sell every single person that's not in the first 11 and suddenly we've got 15 players because as we mentioned, the players that we are keeping hold of, the Keiters, the Ox, Shaqiri, some of the centre backs are injury prone. They're not always available. Keita as well. So we can't just sell everybody and bring in one person. It's not sustainable. It's not smart business. So I'm all for getting rid of the fringe players that just do not contribute in any way, shape, or form. But my point is, when you start to move out an Origi, you need to bring in a backup striker. You don't sell your backup striker to fund a centre midfielder. You need that as well. So if you move a Nico Williams out, we need a new right back. You don't sell Nico, go into the season with one recognised right back just so you can afford another midfielder, because of your 8 midfielders, only 3 of them can be relied on to be fit every week. So we've got to be really careful.
This is fine margins, isn't it? This is where we are. We're almost on a knife edge. It is fine margins. Yeah. It's almost like the way the Liverpool squad is balanced at the moment. It's on a knife edge. We've got the homegrown issue. at the moment we're battling with, which was the Gerard Bowen link, and the whole of the timeline was up in arms. I seem to remember a certain expression from my co-host when we was on Red Men TV. It looked like someone slapped his mum. Like it was do you know what I mean? But there's obviously method behind the madness why FSG would be looking at these type of players. So I appreciate what you're saying, SS, but it's a game of shapes. It's so finely balanced. They're probably looking at Trent and going, Trent's probably good for 38 games. Nico Williams didn't really kick a ball. And do you know what? If push comes to shove, we've got Joe Gomez. And we know that Klopp likes to have multifaceted players that can play in a number of different positions. Yeah. So if push comes to shove, Joe goes out there. We sell Nico for a profit. That gets us that little bit closer to that midfielder we want or that striker we want. We then look at the front three. We've got Jota in there as well. You've got Harvey Elliott, which has come back from his loan period. So they're probably looking, going, we can probably sell Origi because he didn't really contribute last year. Didn't score a freaking goal, and he had enough chances.
Sometimes he wasn't even on the bench, Origi, if you remember. Sometimes he wasn't even there. I thought he was leaving ages ago.
True.
This is what I'm saying. Yeah. So it's a shape-shifting thing at the moment. It's so finely paused. So, SS, I'll go back to you as well. With all that being said, would you take that? Because it is a risk. And I think we're all a bit worried because of what we saw last year. You know, Matip goes down, Gomez goes down, Van Dijk goes down, Henderson goes down, Fabinho goes down. Even Ben Davies can't kick a ball because he's injured. Freaking Kabak gets an injury as well. Like, the whole team, the core of the team was just sick note central. It was sick to watch.
For me, that's the problem, and that's where the Liverpool fans' anger comes from. We are, as you mentioned many a time, we're Liverpool Football Club. You're telling me we can't go into a season with a backup striker, a replacement for Gini, and a backup right back. We've got to get one or the other. It's pathetic. It's not acceptable. You know, all right, Joe Gomez can play at right back. Yes, he can. He's not a right back in the Liverpool shape or formation, is he? He's not. I see Gomez play there before at right back. He's all over the shop. He does not play well at right back. We need to have two right backs. If Trent gets injured in game number 1 and is out for the season or the game after the transfer window shuts, we're going to have James Milner and Joe Gomez and Conor Randall right back for the entire season. We've seen this 11 is so reliant upon every cog working. As soon as you take one cog out of this Liverpool team, it's not the same. You know, you take a Bobby out, it's not the same. You take Robertson out, suddenly Trent's not really linking up with the other fullback because it's just not the same. So, you know, we see them attack together. If Trent overhits the cross from the right, Robertson's there to lap it up and cross it back in again. So we're so reliant on an 11 that any injury destroys us. And the season that we've just had was absolutely catastrophic, wasn't it? So even if it's a Max Aarons, or it doesn't have to be anyone made. Look at Tsimikas. You know, he's not very good, but he's a left back. If we need him, we have
Leo Tsimikas. Yeah, I like him.
But that's what I'm saying. You know, you have to have. You don't have to be Man City. You don't have to have 6 wingers to fit into 2 positions. But as a Liverpool Football Club, and we're that tight for money that we can't get a backup striker, a new midfielder to replace someone that we've just let go for free, which is ridiculous, and a backup right back that can actually play as a wing back, then I'm not backing FSG anymore. If we haven't got enough of that, they're not right. They're not the right people.
Right. Okay. Before my co-host implodes, right? I just think that the way we are, where we're at the moment, in terms of like I said, it's so finely poised. We've got the stadium expansion, 60 M's getting spent.
We're paying for that as a club. It's not FSG. They're using our money.
We've just had the new training ground. Yeah, big money spent there as well. Infrastructure going into the club to put us in a position where we may not have to worry about this long term. Because you look at some of the ownership groups in the Premier League, the Glazers have been at the helm of Manchester United for nearly 20 years. Yeah, they've been there for nearly 20 years. You then look at Abu Dhabi at City. They've been there for probably 12 odd years, maybe more, over a decade.
Was it 2012? Something like
2012. So they're coming into a decade worth of ownership. at Abu Dhabi, and I really kind of think they brought it from their cousin. It was a bit of a name change, weren't it? Because the cousin owned it before. So realistically, those boys have been there for a while. Yeah. You then look at Abramovich at Chelsea. You come into nearly 20 years of Abramovich at Chelsea. You look at Kroenke at Arsenal. You're coming into 10, maybe 15 years of Kroenke because he was always on the board. He just become the majority major owner. So I feel that these ownership groups that are around us at the moment are slightly better placed in terms of where they're at in their project. FSG have had to do a lot of catching up. Yeah, the club had debts beyond our wildest dream. FSG came in and wiped them. They're probably still recouping that as well. The off-field matters. We weren't competing at the table when it comes down to sponsorship deals. You look at Standard Chartered then come through the door. Fantastic. A long-term partner that can kick us onto the next level because unfortunately Carlsberg, whilst they're an international company, their ability and influence only goes so far in terms of funding. You then look at shirt sleeve sponsors. We were one of the first clubs in the Premier League to get a shirt sleeve sponsor because what they're looking to do is leverage the club in every single way to try and proposition us as an attractive business partner off the field. So my point is we are still in its infancy in terms of where FSG are at. They have made some stupid mistakes in terms of off-field and off-field. Maybe not getting a centre-back in January was a risky game, but unfortunately, what they will point to is the results. Third place finish. Yeah, one of the best defensive records in the Premier League last season based on our horrendous injury crisis. Our neighbours at Manchester United finished 5 points ahead of us, and they're screaming that Luke Shaw is one of the best left backs in world football. Let's have it as it is. He had a mediocre season by Andy Roberts standards, but that's acceptable at Manchester United. I feel FSG are building something, and I'm not FSG in, I'm not FSG out. I'm firmly on the fence. But when you sit on the fence, you get splinters. I'm prepared to take them because I feel that FSG are trying to do the right thing for the club, and they've always said we are only custodians. They're not going to be here forever. So you could look at Mike Ashley as an owner who, again, 20 years at Newcastle. It's been a shit show for Newcastle, and they are a huge club. Those guys go to stadiums top off in -degree weather. Yeah, it's mental up there. Yeah, they are mentalists. They're a massive club. So I feel we have a long way to go in terms of our ownership group. But again, it is so finely balanced. But I feel I would shift out of Nico Williams if it meant I was going to get money towards a midfielder. Yeah, I feel I would let go of Nat Phillips if it was going to, and an Origi if it was going to give me 40 million to go out and get a striker, because we need someone to score more goals. We know Bobby Firmino is a phenomenal playmaker. The work he does going backwards is fantastic, but we need more goals. We need someone to chip in with Mo Salah. We can't just rely on Salah because God forbid if Salah went down injured. Oh my God. That would be catastrophic.
That's what I'm saying.
I think you're going to have a better season from Mane, to be fair. He was very tired last season. He never got a rest. I think Mane in the mirror, make that change. Klopp's going to make sure Mane's a lot better. So Mane, Bobby no look with his link play. Jota's got the Lotta. So Jota, I'm expecting a big season with Jota. Yeah. And of course, as you said, Salah, he's rarely injured. That guy's like a bloody machine. He's one of the best players in Liverpool's history. Let's not look at the facts, look at the stats. This guy is an absolute the king of Egypt. But if you're asking me, my wish list, as SS just said, is a right back. Just a fill-in right back, but actually a proper right back, not a centre-half who can play right back, an actual right back. And actually a sitting, holding midfielder. I'll tell you why. We rely an awful lot on these three, Fabinho, Hendo, Thiago. They're not getting any younger. They're actually all injury-prone, the three of them. But that's my favourite three. That's your starting three in most of the big games. Let's be fair. I mean, you've Curtis Jones, Elliott, Milner filling in, even the likes of Oxenall. But they're the three best players, probably. Definitely in there. So you need a holding midfielder and maybe even an attacking midfielder who can then play up front. So you're filling in two midfielders. One can play forward. So you're actually filling three areas. You know what I mean? Because I still think we need, if Shaqiri goes, we'll need an attacking midfielder, a holding midfielder, and a right back. Even if Origi goes, and I don't know Origi, he probably should have went in 2019 when he scored the second goal against Spurs, because that's when his level was the highest and he would have got the most money from. There's not a big queue outside the door for Origi, by the way.
No.
Let's be real. Yeah.
And that's the problem. SS, again, just bring it to you one last time before we look to close, because I know
give it to O, because I want O to give his opinion as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, let's flick it to O then, because we're about to close. We're about to come to the end of the show. So O, and before we give SS the final word on it, where do you feel is the most poignant place in the team that we have to strengthen? My place is midfield, but where do you feel is the most poignant place that is finally balanced that we have to strengthen?
I would rather sign an attacker.
Okay.
Why? An attacker. I think even if you go by last season, we got to a point where defense, even though we had those defense issues, defending was not our issue. We was top of the league, and we just weren't scoring goals. We weren't having shots on target. We weren't creating any shots. We weren't doing anything like that. I feel like our front three is great, but see the thing. I was saying this to the guys the other day in my group chat. We were saying like you saw Mane like not shake Klopp's hand because he's upset to be taken off and all these things and whatnot. You see, when you've got somebody to challenge you, you can't get complacent. You can't do those things because the next man will be like, cool, you're being benched. We'll play something. The quality after that front three, and I do this as a triangle, yeah. After them three, there's no one to replace them. Who's playing above them? Like who's playing?
Complacent.
Yeah, and I feel like our front three fixes itself, and that's the problem. There's no challenge, and the players. Salah is Salah in it. For me, Firmino is Bobby's Bobby in it, but he don't score enough goals. Just quite good, and he got injured. He came in, he got injured, but when he started playing, it wasn't the greatest. I don't think. Mane had a terrible season, but who did we have to play over them? It was Ox. He's injured. Like who plays if they don't play? And I feel like if they're not, I feel like all it's gonna do is breed inconsistency. Like Mane is allowed to not shake their manager's hands. That don't happen if you got another person just all right, cool. If you're gonna disrespect, I'm gonna take your place. No one, Mane, Salah, Firmino, they know they're starting games. They know they're playing every game, but we just need to someone to just like push at them and be like, hey, I'm going to take a spot. We can rest them. I always thought Klopp was a bit stubborn, but then I realized who's actually going to replace them? Nobody. So I would take an attacker. Someone that can guarantee you goals. I'll take it.
You make a very, very good point. And SS, we've spoken about this before in the past about complacency in the front three and not having someone to challenge. And then Jota arrived. So do you feel we need one other then, as opposed to a midfielder? And would you feel comfortable going with our midfield options next season?
I think we do.
Oh, sorry.
Go on.
I know. I was only going to big you up and say I'm with SS on this. I feel like we shouldn't have the conversation with. It should never be either or. Yeah. We can do it. We can do it. I don't get why we have to settle, and that's what I was going to say. Sorry, bro.
No, absolutely right. I mean, the thing is with Jota, he came in like a house on fire. He got that injury, and we were straight back, like O says, to that free that picked itself from mid October, November, all the way through to about March. That front three picked itself. Whether it was Firmino not playing very well, Mane's not scored any goals in 10 games, his worst run at the club. Guess who plays next week? Oh, Mane and Firmino again, because the likes of Minamino, Shaqiri, Origi are so far off in terms of they can do it on a one game basis. They can have a moment, but consistent games they're not good enough. They're not fit enough. They get injuries. So if one of that front four again get injured, we're straight back to no choices again. It's that front three. No matter what happens, we lose 7-2, we lose 8-0. Those three play. We don't score for 10 games. Guess who starts the next game? Those three. So we need another player in there. Vlahovic has been mentioned. Bobby has slowly been decreasing over the last 2 years in terms of his output for goals. He does a lot of work. Yes, he does. But we also have a lot of other players that do a lot of work. That's not any reason to stay in the team. He's got flicks. He's got tricks. He comes up with some good goals as well. Bobby's a fantastic player. But can he play 50 games this season? Realistically, how many goals is he going to score? 10? 12? That's the levels we're seeing. Dave makes a good point on Mane. He needed a rest. He is brilliant. His goals per game ratio still, even with last season, is phenomenal. It's ridiculous. Yeah. So hopefully that was just a bad season. He comes back. But for me, I think we're seeing the best of Firmino. I don't think we're going to suddenly see 2017-18 Firmino again. I think he is now past that curve. So I completely agree with the lads. One more attacker. because realistically, last season, the only player that scored any kind of goals was Salah. As you've mentioned, if Salah goes off to Africa, Cup of Nations, if that goes ahead, if he gets an injury, could we even afford to give him a break? You know, we've seen Harvey Elliott really used in the midfield three rather than the front three. So Shaqiri being linked with a move away, Origi being linked with a move away, Minamino's never really done anything. So we definitely need one more attacker. And Jota, Mane and Salah can rotate in the wides, but realistically, Firmino is our only really recognised central attacker. So yeah, I completely agree with the lads. I don't want a backup. I don't want Andre Isaac from Sweden. I don't want anyone that's not good enough. I want an attacker that doesn't have to be at world level, but has the potential to be there. 5, 6, 7 years younger than Firmino, starts knocking on that door. They fight out for a season or a season and a half. And when Bobby gets to 32, we say, do you know what? We've had Vlahovic for 2 years. He's ready to make that step now. So that's what I would do.
You make some really good points in there, SS. And look, just quickly flick into the comments because you've got a few guys in here that are supporting you. Got Johnny B Red in here as well, returning back. Thank you, Johnny B. Yes, SS again. Again, Johnny B again with some comments in there as well. The point is we need signings. Fantastic. Kev O'Sullivan, thank you again for contributing. I'd like to see Bobby drop deeper and Jota, Mane and Salah in the three. Thiago and Henderson +1 to rotate in the centre midfield. So I think what Kev might be suggesting there is a 4-2-3-1, which we've spoken about before, which was quite a good formation for Liverpool. Delwyn Jones contributing there as well. And one quality striker, one midfielder is a must this summer. We cannot rely on Ox to play false nine. And Bobby and Naby, as well. We cannot hype on his one good game so far. Great. I agree with you as well, Delwyn. You make some great points there too. There's some more comments rolling in there as well. Bobby is declining, not guaranteed a place. Fantastic. Do you know what? We've spoken about it. Maybe Bobby dropping into a 10 option if we switch the formation because of his creative ability. It could work as well. More comments rolling as well, guys. Only have to look at the benefit of what's that? Newcastle? Is that Newcastle?
Yeah, Newcastle. Wilson. The difference it makes having a striker knocks you up 3 places, isn't it?
Yeah.
Look at Ivan Toney at Brentford. Do they get promoted without Ivan Toney? No chance.
Yeah, you make a very, very good point. So so we were starved of goals last year, so we need goals to kind of chip in and help Salah. Obviously, we're a team which don't score many goals from midfield, which we know. Okay, so you guys are saying more that you would like to bring a striker in. So I'm going to take it to you guys in the comments as well. Just quickly before we close and while summarising, striker or midfielder, smash them comments as well. Whilst you're in there, make sure you hit the like button for me as well. And also make sure you give us a subscribe. We're on the way in terms of people that are subscribing. We've got a couple of guys running in with both. So
pull your finger out, FSG. Come on. What's the aim here? 4th place or win the league? Come on, sort it out.
So guys, smash the comments. As our co-host has just done here as well. Striker or midfielder or both. Yeah, hit those comments, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as well. We got Johnny B Red rolling in with both as well. Guys, keep smashing them comments in. So whilst we close as well, it's been a fantastic show.
Really good.
Oh, where can the viewers find you? Where can they find you?
Oh, man, you can find me at SILO, and the big team is at Scousers in London. That's LDN.
Fantastic, awesome. Thank you. Dave, where can the guys find you?
At Dave's LFC chats. What?
I wasn't. This is my first on using this. I didn't do the ads. So you guys are levels above me.
We got the app.
We're like the front three. I'm Salah. There's Bobby. There's Mane. Who are you, Origi?
I'm Ben Davis, mate.
Well, don't worry, it's not going to be your first and only time. We'll be getting you back as well. We've appreciated you coming on. Delwyn Jones as well, jumping in the comments as well, both. Johnny B Red, thank you very much. Great show. Really appreciate that. Kev coming in as well, both. Stephen coming in as well, both. We got some great comments. Stephen again. Yeah, it's coming up. Thank you. Quality show again, lads. Loved having SLO on there as well. Dave, quality entertainment. For a Tuesday evening. Really appreciate it. Statman Stub, my guy, both. Thank you very much. Elwyn Jones, big up Dave and El. So thank you guys, big you guys up. Thank you for coming through as well.
Man. Thank you for having
me. So just as we close, SS,
yeah,
please tell the viewers where they can catch us, and then we will let the viewers know our big news before we
So we've got tier list tomorrow, and we've finally got to strikers. So we started at goalkeeper. It's feel like I think since March we've been doing the tier list series. So goalkeepers, left backs, etc. So it's strikers part 1 tomorrow. There's 48 strikers we've got to get through. So I've split it up into 3 parts. So there's a lot since all the way back since the early 70s. And we've included a couple of special Hunt and Ian St John in there just because you have to. Let's be real. So that's tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. What else we've got coming up? We've got Transfer Tuesday next week with Ben from Redmen TV as well, which is really exciting. And yeah, we're bringing all the content. So the week of the Premier League season, we've got a Premier League season preview with lead judges from AFTV. That's on the Thursday night. So the Arsenal play on the Friday is the first game. We've got lead judges on the Thursday. And Friday night, you've got myself, James, Courtney, and Stephen, the four hosts doing the Norwich v Liverpool preview game as well. And all in between that, you can catch us on Red Men, you can catch us on Day Trippers. We're everywhere, guys. So keep it Red Sea Pod for sure.
Yeah, appreciate that, SS. And that leads us quite nicely onto our big news that we've got. So throughout the course of the Red Sea podcast, we've been looking to kind of expand our reach a little bit more. And we've been fortunate enough to actually expand over to Australia. So we will be launching the Red Sea podcast down under. Those guys will be launching on Twitter very, very shortly. So we're aiming to have representation over in Australia as well. So you'll be able to catch those guys' content directly here as well in the channels and in the playlist on the Red Sea Podcast YouTube. They will have their own Twitter handle as well. And you'll be able to catch those guys directly on Twitter. So what we will do on our Twitter, we will tag those boys so you can see them as well and get ready to give those guys a follow because they're bringing some major content for us guys on the Red Sea Podcast. So guys, just want to close. Thank you so much for coming on, O. Thank you so much for coming on, Dave. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here. We're going to get you back because you guys have really brought the flames tonight. It's been absolutely fantastic. Okay. And also, thank you to my co-host, SS, as well. It's always good to have my guy next to me as well.
Thanks, everyone in the comments as well.
89. This has been Southern Scouser. This down here has been O, and this here has been Dave's LFC Chats. Without further ado, thank you for locking in to another episode of Transfer Tuesday, and we'll catch you on our next show. Thank you.
Cheers.